Hey y'all, I'm Blaine Phillips.
And I'm Phillips-LeVan.
We're married, like just a minute ago, but we've been together for 14 years.
We have a teenage daughter.
Which means she's basically an adult, right?
We're also growing a business on the side together.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Through all of that, we've learned how to improve so many aspects of our lives and show up in an amazing way.
So we decided to host a podcast to share our journey with you.
It's called Let's Do Life Together, because that's just what we want to do with you.
So if you could use some tips and tricks on how to make life a little smoother,
then you're in the right place.
come on in and let's do life.
Hey Jason,
Yeah.
do you know what today is?
Monday.
No.
Thursday.
Hey Jason, do you know what today is?
What?
It's our 52nd podcast episode.
Yay.
Do you know what that means?
Happy anniversary.
Yes, 1 year. There are 52 weeks in a year, and we release one episode each week, mostly. And that means we have been podcasting together for one whole year today.
Wow. Should we keep going?
I feel like it. Happy podversary. Is that a thing? I think that's what you wrote in our calendar, right?
Yep.
Podversary. Did you make that up?
No, that's the thing.
That's not a thing. Is that really a thing?
No.
I
Probably
can,
not.
I can never tell with you if you make things up or if it's real. I don't know. But anyway, nonetheless, hello, friend, and welcome to our 52nd episode, our 1 year anniversary. We have been doing life with you in your ear for a year, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What we've learned through that process, what we did pretty good, what we maybe can learn from, what we didn't do so great, and just talk about 1 year together. You ready, Jason?
Let's do it.
So let's talk about first, why did we actually start a podcast? Instead of me answering that first, you tell me, why would you say we started this podcast, Jason?
Basically just to share kind of our journey and what we've learned, kind of pass those things on, those little tidbits on to others. Hopefully it can make it easier for other couples and families to learn those lessons.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we both are avid podcast listeners ourselves, and we listen to some of the same ones. We listen to a lot of different ones because Jason listens to weird things. I don't know what he's doing in the daytime, but whatever. We both are avid podcast listeners. I think it's amazing that there's this whole world out there, this wealth of knowledge, whether you want to learn something or just be entertained or listen to a funny story, like all kinds of things that are available in the podcast world. And P.S., it's free. And it's content that's out there for you to consume in those moments when you're folding the laundry and you just want to hear something funny or whatever. And we'd been listening to them, and it just seemed like the next progression in our journey. We share our story openly in social media. Facebook was where we spent a lot of time in the beginning, and then we moved over and we spend more time on Instagram now. And I have our blog and things like that. And it was just one more place where we could go out and share our life journey. And the hope is always that maybe we're a chapter or two ahead of you, and we can save you a little bit of time if we teach you or tell you the things that we learned along the way. And that's really just why it started. It was another platform that I think is so easy. Like, a podcast is easy to consume. You don't always have time to sit down and watch Instagram stories or scroll through or watch a live video and catch it when it airs or whatever. But a podcast you can listen to with your earbuds in anytime, or while you're driving in the car, to and from work, while you're sitting at soccer practice, while you're on your run, whenever. And so it's easy, and that's our goal, is to create information, put it out into the world, and the easier you can consume it in your busy life, the better. So that's why I would say. I mean, that's what got us started a year ago. We took a class on how, we had the idea, it was in our hearts. Then we took a class on, okay, this is logistically, how you do it. Here's the microphone you should purchase, and here's the software that you should use when you're I don't know, whatever Jason does over there. He does the behind the scenes techie work to actually take me talking into this microphone and put it out into the world where you can then listen to it. But we took a class on that, and then we started.
Yeah. I mean, the class is basically the same kind of idea of our podcast. So they've already figured out all of those logistics. So instead of us taking it upon ourselves and figuring it out, probably take a lot longer. Wouldn't be as easy to start. So that would give us a reason to delay or not go all in with it. So they're ahead of us, so we just learn from them, implement, and started it pretty much right away.
Yeah, and I think the thing I was proud of us for was we just started. Like, we did take the course, but we were certainly not podcast experts. We still are not podcast experts, but we didn't wait for it to be perfect, because perfect is an illusion. It's never really going to happen. We just started. And that's how you have to approach everything in life. Like, if you want to improve or you want to change something, you want to start something, you want to do something new, just start. It's going to be messy. Make it messy. It's going to be ugly in the beginning, but starting and actually taking that forward motion is better than just sitting and continuing to think about it and continuing to make a plan and continuing to write it out and da. So we started. And on that note, we've learned a lot along the way, for sure. And we still have a lot to learn, but I want to talk about some of the things that we've learned, because you might be interested. Maybe you never want to have a podcast of your own. Maybe you do, whatever. But our point here is to always be authentic with you and tell you what's going on and what's happening behind the scenes. And this is just one more thing in our life that we do. And so I know for me, going into it, one of the things I was a little apprehensive about was, I know this might come as a shock to you, but I can tend to have a large personality, and Jason's is not quite as large. Maybe that's a shocker to you, but it's a thing. I'm loud, Jason's not. I'm a lot, Jason's not. But here's the thing. Jason is so smart, and he's so funny if you hear it. Like, if you can listen for it. He's funny, he's smart, he's got all this knowledge, and he's patient. And I was apprehensive about overpowering. And me talking to people and being in front of a camera or behind a mic or on a stage or anything, that is like, I don't even blink an eye about that. That is my jam. Like, I'm here for it. A captive audience, I'm here for. Jason, are you here for a captive audience?
I am the captive audience, right?
That's true. Jason is usually my captive audience, but he is not so much excited to be front and center on stage. And I was nervous about that, how that would portray. And I think in the first few episodes, it was like I thought it was going to be. Jason, he had to find his groove. Like, he was there, he was present, but he was more like, you didn't get any feel for him, his personality. Like, you didn't get his funny. You didn't get, I don't know, because he was just, I think, was nervous. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. What were you?
Yeah, and the first few, I think we overthought it. So we tried to kind of plan it out a little too much. So then it just felt like, all right, we're trying to stay on script. So that was one of our early lessons, was to just relax, just have some kind of bullet points. This is what we want to cover, because we don't want to ramble on and forever. But we also want to make sure that we're giving value, so we hit those key points. So we quickly kind of changed that approach as we started to record.
And just have a conversation. We have a conversation with each other like you were sitting right here with us, like we would talk to you. I mean, our microphones are physically located where we can look at each other while we're recording. So we're just chatting. So that was good. I was concerned I maybe did overpower him a little in the beginning. We found our groove. We changed our style. And I think we're much more comfortable now. Like, I think that I love listening and just seeing Jason start to shine through. So that was good. Another thing that we've learned, and this is a constant for me, I I am very passionate about the work that we do, this podcast, our coaching business, and those things. But this is my own personal issue. I tend to struggle with how much to put that out there because I see people, I never want to feel used car salesman-y, you know what I mean? Like in this sleazy kind of way. You see people out in the social media space that are just like, all the time shoving whatever their agenda may be down your throat, and you don't even get to know a sense of them or really what's going on in their world because they're just always trying to tell you about their thing that they're doing. And I don't ever want to feel like that. So on the flip side, I often go to the other extreme if I don't talk about what we do enough. And I'm working to overcome that balance. And that is my goal for this next year. And that's specifically in talking about this podcast and advertising out in my social media and out in the world and asking people to listen because one, it's free. So I'm not even asking you to buy my used car. It's a free service, a free thing that I'm putting out in the world. And I shouldn't feel badly about that. And that's something that has been a balance. I'll talk about it and then I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm shoving my podcast down their throat. But the truth is, I believe in what we're doing. And I believe that there's value in this podcast, in our social media content, and in our coaching business. I know there is because our clients tell us that there is. So I have to let go of that and find the balance between advertising and sharing. I'm not going to shove it down your throat, but I'm not going to not talk about it either. So I think that was a big one for me. I don't know. Tell me what you think about that.
Yeah. Well, and the more people we can reach, the more we can help. And then they end up helping us by providing feedback. So, you get good feedback, get the reach out there, get good feedback, and then you can help people more effectively, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I'd say the other thing that I've learned, I am a totally an open book kind of person. I just am. I'm all out there all the time. You ask me anything, I will answer you as honestly as I possibly can with usually very little to no filter. And sometimes when Jason and I are just in here chatting it up, but it's also on a podcast, I forget things that I say. Not that I'm holding back because I don't want to, but people will listen or they'll send me a message and they'll be like, oh my gosh, girl, I can't believe that you had that problem too. And I'm like, oh, did I share that? Oh, I did say that. And again, it doesn't bother me, but it's something to be aware of. And I think specifically that comes into if I'm telling a story that it relates to our family, our kids, making sure that because for me, it's an open book. And for me and Jason, mostly it's an open book. But if I'm going to share something that involves our daughter or him and our marriage, I just need to make sure I clear that beforehand. That hasn't been an issue. I'm not telling you something that happened. I became more aware of okay, if you should check the filter before you just throw it all out there. What about you, Jason? What'd you learn? Anything?
So from the technical side, I learned how to be more efficient, I think, with actually editing and processing them. We're better recording, so it's a lot easier. And like you said, we don't try to make it perfect, so I don't go back and try to cut out all the ums and yes and rights and, you hear the things that you say all the time, but, that's just how we talk, so kind of let go of trying to chop those all out.
Yeah, because that's how we sound. We're not perfect, but we are improving, so that's pretty good. I think one of the things for me, this moving on, I guess not necessarily something I learned, but a really cool part of this process has been the feedback that we've gotten from others, the reviews or the messages to our social media or, the DMs, whatever. I love when something we said connected with someone else or helped them or gave them an idea. I specifically think of we got a shout out a few weeks back on Facebook. I think it was a Facebook shout out, and it was just a mom of 2 kids. She works part-time, her husband's full-time, and very similar to our dynamic. Like, she gave our podcast a shout out on reminding her to take care of herself, self-care, and finding hobbies and not put her family first all the time. She had gotten lost in that and was working to find herself. And I just, that meant so much because I've been there. And so it's that feedback, which takes me back to advertising more for it, because like Jason said, when we can reach more people, then we'll get that feedback, because I love doing this, but I want to be providing content that I want to be providing episodes and useful information that will help you. And the only way I know what's helping you is when you tell me. So those messages and those reviews, like, they have been, I love it. I love when somebody like took time out of their life to put us in their ears and then took another minute to send us a message and say, hey, that meant this to me today. Like, I love that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think sometimes I feel like we talk about the same things over and over, but in that case, I'm sure we've talked about self-care prior to that episode, but whatever reason, we said it in a different way that time, or she heard it a different way. So, kind of eases that pressure to always be talking about something totally new. So we'll keep speaking about, what we're doing. Some of the themes will still come through the same. So
yeah,
wellness,
that's funny.
Nutrition, fitness, all those things.
Jason will definitely say that. He'll say, well, I think we covered that. And I'm like, I hear you. Listen, I listen to people and podcasts. I'm like, I think I heard that, something similar, but everybody's got a little different way of delivering it, a different example that maybe resonates with you, or maybe it doesn't. You're ready to hear it, you're whatever. So yeah, that's been good. I love that we've found our groove. Like I said, we're not so structured with our outlines anymore. We just have a conversation. We've got a system where we usually record a few episodes in one batch. So I'm like excited for podcast recording day. So it's this thing. It's a free service, but we get joy from it. We lock it down and we record a few podcasts, and then Jason does his editing magic, and then we put them out into the world. And every Thursday, I know that this thing's dropping, and it's cool. And it's a cool experience to do with Jason, to stand across from him and just hear his different perspective on things. I always am enlightened by like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it like that. When I wrote the outline, I was like, nope, that wasn't what I meant. And then he comes out of the blue with some other example. And I think that's got to be helpful to you listening, like to hear 2 different sides of the same situation, the super passionate side and the...
What?
Jason's side.
Extra super passionate.
Extra super passionate? Yeah, I don't think that was it.
But I think that also brings up just kind of another lesson. So for us, this is a project. This is a part that we want to incorporate into our life. So what we did was we simplified it. So we know once a month we're going to have a recording session. We knock them out. The editing, we've simplified as much as we can so that it doesn't feel like a chore or a task that we're just checking off because we said we're going to do this. So, you can apply that same thing to any area of your life.
Yeah, that's true. Anything you want to do. So we're going forward. We are going into year 2 of podcasting, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to take these lessons that we've learned and grow upon them. I think for me, the things like we were talking about, like, okay, we've got 1 year under our belt. We've learned a lot. What do we want to incorporate more into this year? And I know for me, I want to make sure that I'm talking about it more so that I can encourage you to tell me more. I want to hear from you more. I want you to send me a DM and Instagram. I want you to go on and write a review so you tell me what you're liking and what we haven't talked about yet that you think would be helpful. If you're going through a struggling season and you're like, hey, you guys got any experience with this? Have you got any experience with that? Then if we do, I would love to create content on that for you. So that's what I'm going to actively pursue this year, is reaching out to you and looking for that feedback and wanting to make sure that I'm serving you in a better way. So yeah, I'm going to advertise more for my free podcast because I want to hear from you, because I want to make sure that I'm serving you.
Right. It's not just what did you think of that episode, but what would you like to hear? Upcoming episodes.
Right. Because maybe we said a little snippet of something in one episode and you're like, wait, what are they talking about? I want to hear more about that. And maybe that's a whole episode. So we don't always know that. We need you to tell us.
Yeah. A lot of times we don't want these episodes to be really long. So we purposely, will only talk to one point for a few minutes. Whereas that one point could be, a 20, 30-minute topic.
That's true. The other thing we got the privilege of interviewing some people this year. I loved bringing in experts, our Disney expert. Oh my gosh, my friend Melanie telling us about style as we've rolled into a new season. We're in the fall season right now. I'm using her tips actively to go through my wardrobe. So just being able to talk to other people was cool, but we didn't do a ton of that. It was our first year. We were feeling it out. I want to bring in more interviews this year, more experts in areas that we are not. I'm not pretending to be an expert in any area, but there's certainly things. A style icon, I am not, which is why I brought you my friend Melanie. A Disney expert, I am not, which is why we brought you Happy. So continuing with that, I want to find more people, bring them to you, and let them get in front of you and let us all learn from them. So if you know anybody that we should interview that you think, hey, I think they'd be a great fit for your show because they're really knowledgeable and passionate about this thing, then hit a girl up. Tell us, because I'm going to be looking for those people this year, and we're going to be reaching out and just bringing you more people. All right, Jason, I'm doing interviews. I'm spreading the word so we can hear back from people. What are you going to be doing this next year?
And well, another thing that we kind of mentioned to ourselves this past year was doing some kind of on the road episodes. So as we travel, recording on the phone in the car or at the hotel, and just kind of, it's more of a real-time episode of this is what we've got going on. This is what we're in the middle of. This is how we do this part of life.
Yeah, that's a great point. Shalene Johnson has a podcast called The Shalene Show, and every Friday she releases an episode called Car Smart Friday, and it's just down and dirty. Like, it's her in her car, and she's driving or riding, like you can hear it, and it's just like whatever's going on in her world at that moment. And that inspires me, and that's a good point. We've talked about wanting to do more of that just in the moment, because you're capturing those real raw emotions of like what's going on as we do these things, or, how we pack our food for a trip. We just do it second nature and don't think about it. But if we do an episode from the hotel room and let you know like what that looks like, that's probably helpful to you. So those types of things, they'll be maybe a little less edited and whatever, but it's down and dirty, and that's real life. So that's a good point. Bring you with us a little more. Yeah, anything else?
We could also do some like quick tips. So it's not really a whole episode, but just, hey, this is a thing we do all the time. And it might just be explaining it for 4.5 minutes. But
yeah, maybe some bonus quick tip episodes of like, hey, we do this. We thought you might like to. Good point. I mean, I do lots of cool things, so there's probably lots of tips there. All right. Ready? Last part. Jason, get ready. I'm putting you on the spot. We have recorded 52 episodes, or 51, I suppose. 52. Whatever. What have been your favorites?
Well, I just pulled up the list.
Oh, boy. You can't do it. He did it while I was asking you.
I want to remember all of them. Actually, one of the earliest ones, I think, was pretty good with the Bring Back Date Night.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We had the one about the elf. That was good.
You
That
love
was
the
funny.
elf so much.
I really like the zoo one. That was just a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Lessons from
Would
the
you
zoo.
eat that?
Mm-hmm. Game time.
I loved having our kids on. We've had 2 of the 3 kids on. Our daughter Sienna was on a couple of episodes, and just listening to her and seeing her not shy about doing it, that was really cool. And then Jason got to do an interview with his son Max. So having the kids on was special to me. And I think I really liked the Truth Bombs episode. I know that seems crazy, but I think that sometimes, I know this is true for me, people will throw fluff our way far too often. If you have a person in your life that will tell you the real, like just lay it down for you, that's special. It might sting a little. You might not want to hear it, but they're only trying to do good. So I know that I've had mentors from afar drop those truth bombs, and they sting, but I needed to hear them. So being able to hopefully be that for someone, it was good. And some of them stung for me too. So, there's that.
And then the New Year's types ones. So, that's something that we really look forward to every year. So just kind of laying that out and explaining our process, I thought was good. So that's one that I think we could probably break down into multiple episodes. Maybe we'll do that this go around.
All right. Well, apparently we already have a plan. There we go. So it's been a year. And if you've been with us from the start, thank you for being here. If this is your first episode, you've got 51 that you can go back and binge listen to. But thank you. Wherever you joined us in our journey, we so appreciate you being here. We appreciate you letting us know that you're listening. We appreciate when you give us a review. So here's my plug. What helps us? What helps this podcast keep going? Hearing from you. We want you to keep listening, and then we want that feedback from you. You can go to Instagram and send me a DM. You can go to Facebook and send me a message. You can go right to the reviews wherever you're listening to this, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, everything, and leave us a review right there. Tell us what you liked and what you'd like to hear us talk about furthermore. And the other best thing you can do, share it. If you listen to something and you're like, this was dope, they're funny, that was helpful, whatever, I know you have a friend that's like you and would appreciate it too. So just hit the little share button, text it on over to Sarah and say, hey, Sarah, you need to listen to these people because they're funny and they're gold. And P.S., it's free, so you have nothing to lose. Just keep sharing. That's the best way that you could help us celebrate our 1-year anniversary, is let us know what you think.
Yep. Rate, review, and tell us what's up.
All right. Happy 1 year. Until next time.